up, guys, and welcome to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to the Comic Universe. I'm Dr. J. I've got a PhD in nerd culture, and I should know. I printed it out myself. And welcome to episode 2 of our new show, Pop Cultured, where I basically take kind of a topic or a question that's kind of on my mind related to pop culture and kind of give my opinion on it, and then hopefully you guys will sound off in the comments and let me know what your opinion is on this topic. Now, today is a special day, or I guess this year is a special year. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the death of Superman. That's right, folks. And with the recent release of the animated movie, which is really good, highly recommend you check that out. I figured this would be a good time to ask a question that I've kind of been asking for a while now to, fellow fans and fellow, friends of mine, that are comic fans and stuff like that. Did Superman's death ruin comics? And, let me elaborate on that. So, going back to the death of Superman, it's crazy, it's 25 years. It's been 25 years since the death of Superman. This came out a year before I was born. The death of Superman came out a year before I was born, and my dad knows this specifically because the death of Superman was the event that kind of made him stop caring about comics as much, because Superman's his favorite superhero. But anyway, so why is this so huge? So, the death of Superman was probably the biggest thing to happen in comics at the time. Because up to that point, no huge mainstay staple character had ever died. The hero always won. And, that's what was the norm. It was what came to be expected of comics. Heroes fight the bad guy, hero always wins. Now, this was turned on its head when Superman fought Doomsday, and not only did the Justice League get absolutely destroyed, but Superman fought to a standstill with this basically DC's version of the Hulk. And he pretty much they both punched each other until they died at the same time. Which, I have my own personal beef with that fight kind of being. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jurgens drew it really cool, but there wasn't much substance to that fight. But that's a whole other topic for another day, which I will cover if you guys tell me to. If you guys want to hear more about that, my thoughts on that. But so. It's not necessarily that whole concept of killing off a well-established, well-loved icon, a staple of the company. It shook up the world because, Superman, he wasn't just, a comic book character. He's an American symbol. This S, I guarantee you, is just as, if not more recognizable than the cross. And I'm sorry if I offend any religious people, but let's be real, man. You could go anywhere, I'm sure, show them this symbol, and I'm pretty sure they know where it is. Superman has just become that iconic, and the fact that they killed him off kind of just blew everyone's mind. Now, why do I think his death might have ruined comics? It's because they basically opened the doors of death, in a way. And what I mean by that, and that's kind of it's a Percy Jackson reference, really, but basically, after Superman died, they tried to replace him with, they tried using the 4 different Supermen in the reign of the Superman story to kind of test the waters for a replacement Superman, right? And because, like I said, up to that point, every character who's died has stayed dead. Even, somebody who was a main character like Barry Allen. Barry Allen died in Crisis of Infinite Earths, and he stayed dead for about 20 years. I think it's still one of the longest lasting deaths in comics. Like he wasn't brought back for a while. But anyway, moving on. Yeah. So when after Superman died, like nobody really liked any of the replacement Superman. I mean, yes, a lot of them eventually got like huge fan followings, like Connor Kent Superboy, John Henry Iron Steel, and all that. But none of them really stuck. So they ended up having to bring back the Big Blue Boy Scout. And yeah, it was cool. It was awesome seeing Superman return. Yeah, he got a mullet, and then he got all these like stupid powers, like the electric blue and electric red. But it was cool seeing Superman back. Now, after this, though, after this, um, companies, well, both DC and Marvel kind of took the wrong idea from this concept, right? So it happened once, it shocked the entire world, it got everybody talking, and it sold like gangbusters because holy shit, this is a huge event. It's the death of Superman. Like, this is the last issue where Superman, made his last stand and he survived. Um, and that, like that right there, it meant a lot. Like that impact was huge. So a lot of companies, both DC and Marvel, kind of took that and was like, I want, man, we made a lot of money. I wonder if we can do that again. So they did it with Nightfall. They broke Batman's back in a really awesome story that was, and then eventually they brought Batman back. Like they, tossed him in a Lazarus pit, healed his back up, and he was back to, he was back in business. And then so on and so forth. So much to the point where they killed off Wolverine a couple times, and recently that they killed off Wolverine like maybe 2 years ago. He stayed dead for about 2 years, and now he's already back with heat claws. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that one because that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, it's this whole concept of death doesn't mean anything anymore in comics now. Ever since Superman died and they just brought him back, death doesn't mean anything in comics. And so whenever a death happens, it doesn't matter, right? Because there's this kind of, as a fan and as someone who's especially people who've read comics for a long time, you're just kind of like, they're going to come back anyway. Granted, there are exceptions to that rule where there have been some really impactful deaths that weren't reversed, at least for a while. My number one example of this is Ultimate Spider-Man. Peter Parker's death in the Ultimate Universe was so well done. They got a really good replacement Spider-Man in Miles, someone to carry on that torch. However, towards the end of Ultimate Spider-Man, they reversed that and kind of like ruined the impact of it. But we're not going to talk about that. As far as I'm concerned, Peter Parker did not return from the dead. We're going to just erase that whole part. But Peter Parker's death in the Ultimate Universe. Impact, because death mattered there. We didn't know if he was going to stay dead or not. And he stayed dead for over 10 years. So, like, that was great. You actually made his death mean something. Meaningful deaths that have happened recently. Jane Foster. Now, granted, I haven't, read the Thor books post Jane's death, I wouldn't mind having Jane come back, but I think Jane's death was handled beautifully, and that entire story built around, like, Jane fighting against the clock. That entire run of just Jane knowing that she was going to die, but she was going to die a hero. I thought that story was very, very well done. But other than that, like, whenever characters quote unquote die, it feels hollow at this point because it's comics and they're probably going to come back, especially if the character's popular or the character has a movie coming out or so on and so forth, different marketing reasons. They're hyping it up, and a lot of times death isn't used as a legitimate plot or story device because the story calls for it. A death is used to drive up sales, to hype up a movie, or something like that. it's hard to talk about the impact of death after the death of Superman, because after the death of Superman, deaths don't even really matter. Everybody just started doing it just to do it, and again, after like the fourth or fifth time, like it didn't matter anymore, and it's kind of ruined that those type of stories for me. Unless it's like in an alternate universe, I don't really care if a character dies because I know they're going to come back. If it's the 616 Marvel Universe, I know Wolverine's coming back. I know Thor's coming back. I know Iron Man's coming back. I know Johnny Storm's coming back. If it's the main DC universe, I know Batman's coming back. They're not going to just keep Dick Grayson as Batman because they're not going to do it. As much as Dick Grayson's a great Batman, they're going to restore the status quo, bring Bruce Wayne back. Superman's not going to die. He's coming back soon. They'll just have a replacement for a little bit. The Flash died. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. There's Wally West. So maybe the Flash, there's an exception there because you have more than one Flash, and the Flash already transitioned in that era where death was permanent, and so having two Flashes again makes sense. But again, when Bart Allen died, he still came back. Different things like that. So my question to you guys is, again, has the death of Superman ruined comics for you? And because of that, does death really matter? And what is your opinion on death in comics in general? Does it annoy you that no matter what happens, the character's going to come back? Does that kind of lessen your enjoyment of the story? Or do you just think, it's just comics, man, of course they're going to come back. It doesn't really matter to me as long as the story of their death is good. I don't care if they come back in 6 months. Personally, I feel like you should at least give it a few years to let the deaths sit before you bring them back. Otherwise, you got like Jean Grey syndrome, where Jean Grey is brought back every 2 years or so because people. I mean, I love Jean Grey, but you don't get a chance to miss Jean Grey if you keep bringing her back so soon. Now, so do you guys believe that deaths should be permanent in comics again? Do you guys believe that you can bring characters back, but you need to give it at least a couple years? Or do you think that it's just fine to, have that resurrection card or the, he didn't really die kind of trope in there? Because it's comic books. Tell me all your opinions, thoughts, and feels in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to leave this video a like to let me know you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and notification bell to subscribe to the Comic Universe today. We've got a whole wide variety of content. We do reviews, thought pieces like this, and a bunch of other different things. So definitely be on the lookout first, for what we have to offer you guys. Like I said, we got a whole wide variety of content, so definitely go check that out. In the outro card, I will leave linked a video YouTube series algorithm things you might like, and I will leave a link to my personal channel, my main channel, Mr. J's Reviews. Over there, I do very similar content to what I do here on the Comic Universe. So if you like what I do here on the Comic Universe and you want to support me individually, I would really appreciate that. Like I said, I will leave that link annotated in the outro card. So definitely hop over to my channel and check that out. I review music, movies, comics, TV shows, anime, and manga. So if you'd like any of those things interest you in the slightest, click my channel icon in the outro card and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, I'll catch you for another episode of Pop Cultured. I'll see you in the universe. Peace.